So I think, who have we got for games? I think we've got Anthony. Hey, Ants.
Hello, how you going?
Good. How are you going?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good to hear it, mate. All right. Well, I'm going to hand over if that's all right.
Yeah,
And
go for it.
yeah, we'll chat to you guys later.
No worries. Okay, so welcome to the game session. The way this one's going to start off with, I'll bring on Carlton, who's one of the games teachers here at AIT, and he's going to go through a demo of building a game from scratch. Are you ready to roll, Carlton? You're on mute, man.
Oh, hey, thanks, Ant.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, hey everyone, and yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well. Are we gonna jump straight into it, or should we wait a bit until the actual schedule? Or
We've got like a minute. I suppose we can sort of just hover for a little bit and see if any questions or anything come through. So just a bit of a refresher of everyone sort of sitting there saying, what are we doing? So what's going to happen first is Carlton's going to go through his game's demo, and then I'll come on after and do a bit of a rundown and sort of more course material. We've also got a bit of a special guest, Jack, who's an ex-student with us as well. So he's in the house as well. And we'll do a bit of a Q&A too after I do more sort of details on the course. But yeah, you might as well get started. It's 10 past 10, so jump into it, Carlton.
Is it 10 past already? I think we've got 2 minutes. But okay. At the same time, we can always talk games. Hopefully we got some gamers in the house. I mean, let me know in the chat. Maybe press like a 1-1 if you're like a gamer, right? Because yeah, I'm assuming that since we're sort of participating in this live demo, then yeah, you're interested in playing games. And with all that gaming experience, hopefully interested in one day making games, right? I mean, what games are people playing? Maybe just sort of like throw it in the chat. What sort of games are you playing right now? Some people still playing Dark Souls. Oh, nice. We got Erica on The Last of Us. Nice. The new one. And then we got Genshin Impact. Lee, yeah, I got a yep. So, and then Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat. Wow, interesting. And then Minecraft, good old Minecraft. RuneScape still, damn, nice. And then, yeah, lots of really cool games. Persona 5, Bioshock Replaying. Wow, nice. Nice little indie game there, Stardew Valley. League, unfortunately, yeah, I get you, I understand. Halo, Rainbow Six. Yeah, so a lot of really cool games that everyone is playing, right? And I'm sure everyone has like a really many years of gaming experience, which, you know, hopefully all that gaming knowledge can contribute one day to making your own games as well, right? So otherwise, I guess that's 10 past. So if we're ready to roll, I guess I'll share through my screen and let's do something fun. Oh, where did Zoom go? When I share my screen. Can you see my screen? Can everyone just see my screen for now? Where you see some Unreal stuff? Awesome. So yeah, we got some really cool sessions today where we got another half an hour, 45 minutes. And the first part, I'll just show you through a crash course in game making, right? And then the second half, we'll walk you through what the game course is like at AIT. So I was given the role of showing something cool within 15 minutes. So I will do my best, right? And I want to show you how to make a game-ish from scratch, right? And what's the process of that behind the scenes. So today I'm going to demo you Unreal Engine, right? And so if you want to make games, obviously you need to learn a game engine, right? And so there's two very big popular game engines out there amongst many others, but the top two big ones right now are Unity and Unreal, right? It's sort of like Macca's and KFC. They're all pretty good, right? And so yeah, we're gonna show you a bit of Unreal today and how that's working. And just a quick bit about Unreal, because it's one of the AAA game engines out there. Unreal 5 is coming out. I don't know if you guys follow, like watch game trailers and all that. But yeah, Unreal Engine 5 is coming out, next gen graphics, supporting, you know, unlimited amounts of polygons in games, which is something crazy. You know how like everyone knows in games, everything has to be like game low poly and all that. Well, now it's sort of like unlimited polygons in the future. So that's going to be pretty exciting, opening it up to hyper realistic game environments and stuff, right? So yeah, that's Unreal Engine. It's free to download, so you can totally go to unrealengine.com and just download it. And that's a good thing why most people are jumping on Unreal Engine, because it's free. So you can download it now and then start having a play with it after this if you want. But just to quickly show you some Unreal Engine games. Unreal Engine's famous for making a lot of cool games. So I'm just quickly Googling some Unreal games. So let's just go through the list. We got Final Fantasy, maybe some of you play it. Sea of Thieves, we got Hellblade. Obviously, Unreal Tournament is their original flagship. Right? Ever played Infinity Blade, the old iOS game? Right? Batman Arkham, and there's some really big titles out there, and Shadow Complex, and yeah, there's a lot of list of cool games. Let's see, keep going. Life is Strange, Paragon, and what are some another cool games? Yeah, lots of great games out there made by Unreal Engine. It's Unreal Engine 4 that we're using, and Unreal Engine's been around for like at least 20 years. So a lot of the games that you've been playing on your consoles are from Unreal Engine, which is yeah, something worth learning, right? So here's what it looks like. Oh, hold up, there's my Skype, I'll just move it aside. So yeah, so here's what it looks like in Unreal Engine, and then here we go. Let me take you through what you would do in studying games and basically learning buttons, right? When you're studying about games, you're learning the buttons of a software, right? And basically master those buttons. So we've got a black scene here, right? And so starting from scratch, what can we do? So let's just quickly make a thing. I'll just make a floor to start off, because obviously a floor is important so we know what's happening in the game, right? So nice little floor here. As a game engine, there's a lot of things that's been built over the last 20 years to help you make games efficiently, right? Because there's a lot to do in games. And so now we need a sky sort of thing. So I'll just quickly go to the sky system, and I'll just create a skylight to give us a little bit of a light. Now you'll see that in a sec once it sort of compiles. We'll also create an atmospheric light. I'll create a sky atmosphere that gives us a blue sky. So you'll see blue sky in a second. And then there's also built-in clouds, which is actually pretty cool as well. Right? Now I click all those 4 buttons and it generated me something. Usually I need to reload the scene to see it, but I'll just keep going for a second, right? And you'll see blue skies real soon. So yeah, what's needed in a game, right? And obviously there's many games that you can make, but I'll just make a character game. I'm a big fan of Wukong. Actually, that's the reason I play League. It's because, there's a Wukong when it released, and then I went to play League because of it. So yeah, anyways, that's just something that I'm a big fan of. So totally have a Wukong character here. And so yeah, part of game making is you get to do a lot of things, right? You get to, part of the course is you learn character modeling, right? Make your own characters in 3D softwares like Maya, right? And Substance Painter. And within that, you come up with your own character design, and then, yeah, use them for animations or games in 3D, right? So I'm just gonna quickly hook this up so that we can take control of this character. And then, yeah, along the way, you just sort of have to like learn a little bit about how to click a certain few buttons to sort of get there. So if I just sort of possess this character, I'd be able to, the typing's all busted. One sec, possess. Yeah, here we go. And then I just possess this player. And then if I just sort of add this input to it, you will see that I should be able to walk in a second. And just dock this sort of down here nicely. Yeah, so if I click play, boom, I got blue skies. So, once the character's in, it will render the blue skies. And we got a nice little Wukong character walking on this floor that we just generated. And it's pre-hooked up already with a bit of code. So just to show you a quick glimpse of coding, right? Because, coding is something that no one grows up wanting to be a programmer, but, game programming is quite fun, right? And it's especially fun when they realize coding is boring. So Unreal made this blueprint system, which is unlike the traditional way of coding with text. You now drag and drop nodes here and hook it up to sort of get things happening, right? And so, yeah, and then you see all these nodes here. It's sort of like circuit boards, right? And so, yeah, part of studying games is to learn how to hook this up of course, and then make your games come true, right? And with that, I press play, you have a nice character happening. Great. What else do we need in a game? Lots of things, right? Obviously, there's nothing really happening here. So I'm just going to go through step by step, and you can see the process of what you would do in a game. And one of them would be to maybe just give it a quick texture, right? And so just sort of, whoops, there's this search term here, which is killing me. And then, oh gosh, that's not good. I'm trying to get this search thing. Oh, it's here. And then it's sort of glitched out. One sec. So if I drag this sort of material here, yeah, we're just gonna paint it with some nice grass stuff, right? And so to do that, if I select this object here, you will see that there's no grass yet. There's a few buttons now, obviously game engines. It's all over time, right? So you sort of, the first time you see it, it's a bit scary, but then over time, as you do it once, it sort of just becomes second nature. And then, yeah, after a few buttons of clicking, we now have some grass, right? I've actually prepared some grass texture. I've got some ground texture. I've got some dirt texture. So one thing we would do is to just quickly paint up some different textures as well, right? So you can quickly like paint up different textures that you can download from, some of these you just get from online. Just search grass texture and ground texture. I just paint a little road here to go to somewhere that I need to go to. Imagine this is the area that we need to go to, right? And along the way, you get another different texture here. And then you can probably like paint some stuff on the side as well. And then, yeah, part of game making is to, make your game look pretty. Now, I'm just going to do a quick job here today just to show you. But in reality, you would be going into micro details and go, oh yeah, I need like extra little bit in here and a little bit in here, and then go into really big details of that, right? Great. So that's terrain painting in a nutshell. What next, right? So this world is looking a bit empty, I guess. So it's time to populate it with some assets, right? And so just quickly dig into some 3D models. So part of game making is there's two sides. There's learning the programming and there's learning the art making, right? Some of you might enjoy making things work. Some of you might enjoy making art assets, right? From 3D characters. 3D characters is always the fun part, but there's lots of things that you need to do in a game, such as, houses. And then you can see there's all these props down here that, yeah, part of a good artist is know how to make stuff, right? Like the legendary barrel, which is super important in the game, right? And then, if we were to spend a lot of time if you played Minecraft, then you know exactly what it takes to make a level, right? And so a lot of sort of planning and intricate designs to manually just to drag and decorate your world with some really cool stuff, right? At the same time, you'll be modeling these objects in Maya and then sort of bring them into the game engine like this, right? So far so good, right? How are we going on time? Yeah, almost there. Oh, wait. So otherwise, random things that you could do, a lot of cool things that game engines do that makes your life easier, right? And so here's this fence here. I'm just going to quickly drag a fence, and then obviously you can get some nice connected fence happening. All this is done with a little bit of automation as well. So you can see how the fences sort of connect and hook up with me like this. So yeah, with a little bit of setup, you can get the game engine to help you sort of do some really cool stuff. I'm just duplicate it, and then voila, I've got this like path that I can sort of walk around and do cool stuff with, right? What else in it? Now I can go on forever, but let's sort of do what else can we do in a game? So what is a game, by the way? A game is something that has an objective and something that you can win or lose, right? So let's say, for example, if we just make a very simple collecting game. So I've prepared these pumpkins, and so we just sort of have these pumpkins sort of duplicated on the side to sort of collect and make a very simple collecting game. Once again, right, these are all sort of, done up with a little bit of coding. So let's quickly have a look at what coding is sort of like, because it's sort of not as scary as everyone kind of thinks, hopefully, right? And so if we just sort of read what these four things are, let's quickly have a look. On, begin, overlap, right? A bit of cryptic language here. When things penetrate, right? Bit overlap means penetrate. When things penetrate me, I will spawn an emitter. What's that? That's a particle system. Yeah, spawn an emitter at my location. So this is my actor's location. And then I destroy the actor, destroy myself. So say again, if someone penetrates me, I spawn a particle and then I destroy myself. And what does that mean? Let's quickly have a look, right? I press play. If someone penetrates the pumpkin, boom. And then there's just this little particle. I don't know if it's coming across, but it's sort of blending into the world. But yeah, there's like a nice particle and then it destroys itself, right? So that's a little bit about, sort of game programming, that something that you sort of learn throughout the course of the subject, right? Otherwise, it's still looking a bit bland because it's basically simple. So let's transform this into something, hopefully something spectacular. Long story short, chuck some foliage in, right? And so let's see what we got here now. I've got a bunch of grass tech. So we can sort of, let me check out the Dreamscape pack. And yeah, let's chuck some grass because grass makes everything kind of look pretty good, right? And so if we get foliage, right? Actually, not even grass. How about I chuck some shrooms? Let's chuck some shrooms in there. Yeah, let's chuck some shrooms in there. So I'll just pick like 3 shrooms here. And then, yeah, and then drag it into here. And with that, I can quickly paint some shrooms around the world, right? With a couple of settings here. I just sort of point, let's crank this up to like 10. Right? And then paint. I'll just do a quick dirty job, just spray it everywhere. You can have small shrooms, but obviously you can crank up the settings. This is a 1-to-1 scale. So if I go like 5 to 10 scale, let's have like a mad shroom world. And then blah, I can have like Mushroom Kingdom, kinda almost happening real soon-ish, right? And then obviously you can do that with all kinds of things, right? So we've got nice bushes here. So I'm just going to drag it in. Right, and then part of the artist will prepare these bushes and make them, and then you bring it up into the engine, and then yeah, let's make something cool now. Just sort of spam some bush. Oh yeah, looking good now. Great. All right, and now I've got almost like a nice little fantasy world happening, right? And then obviously I'm sort of like make some trees as well. So trees is always good. You can either paint trees or you can just manually plant new some trees. So yeah, last thing, I'll just do trees. I'll just select 2 trees and just drag it in. And I'll just deselect these bushes here. Here we go, trees. I'll just put it on the outskirts. All right, and then I'll just sort of like not do too much, but I'll just sort of tap it. Oh, that's still too much. 2, right? And then I'll just sort of tap it a bit. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, you know what? I'm going to save this one for later, the other side for later. Great, right? So yeah, our world's coming along pretty kind of nicely. Ideally, part of game making is you never want the players to see the edge of the world because that would suck, right? It will break the immersion. So one thing that we probably want to do is just sort of paint some quick mountains in, right? And so if we sort of do that, I just sort of get my brush here, and I'm pressing a lot of hotkeys, but then yeah, that's something that everyone gets good at over time. And then I'm just paint some quick mountains. All right, let me just sort of, yeah, just do that for a second. And then, yeah, now we've got some quick mountains happening. And then coming back to our texture stuff. Now, obviously all this, you can spend a good time to sort of like make it intricately nice, right? And then remember how we sort of painted the terrain as well with different textures. So coming back to here, you will come back to your dirt thing, and then I'll just sort of quickly sort of paint the mountains as well. And then you probably want to have like a nice palette of like 7 textures to work with so that you can have like a rich amount of textures, but I'll just quickly sort of do these ones for now. The sunlight's a bit thingy. There's a really cool thing in Unreal as well. You can do the whole daylight system as well. So see how you got the sunlight here? I can just sort of take control of it and move the sun around. So if I want like a nice sunset, I can do that. Or if I want a midday, I just sort of rotate it and sort of get it to something happening, right? And so what I'll do is I'll get the light coming from this way so I can sort of see everything. And yeah, we're kind of almost done. I don't know lots of random stuff that you can do in Unreal Engine is like maybe chuck a water in. So I'm just gonna chuck a lake in for now, just quickly. So that there's like a nice water view here, right? And so yeah, we've got a nice little lake here, right? And then if you want, you can have like a nice river as well. So I'll just chuck a nice river here, and then you can sort of like click. It's all made by curves. So with these curves, you can sort of like manipulate the curves and then just sort of make a nice river and then just sort of extend it here. And then, yeah, now I've got a nice water view on the side. And then, yeah, just sort of extend this, and you can alt drag to sort of extend the river, and off we go. And if we want to, we can have an ocean as well. Just drag an ocean in. And so now we sort of have an ocean sort of surrounding us. So it almost feels like we're on an island, right? And yeah, let's quickly give a play. What does it look like now? Wow. So suddenly it's a bit different than, you know, from what we had from a blank black scene into now we've got a nice little environment fantasy world here. We've got some, you know, houses and environments that we can sort of jump in and then sort of discover cool pickups along the way, maybe. And then we've got these pickups here. And then ultimately, I want to enjoy a nice time by the beach. So I'm just going to go to the water scene, and then, yeah, and then you can sort of continue building the world over there. And then eventually add some AI, some enemies to whack, and then off you go. That's hopefully like a game, right? So yeah, anyways, I think we'll sort of leave it at that because I'm going a bit over time. But yeah, that's a little bit about Unreal Engine and what's it like to make a game. So
that was awesome. Cheers, Carlton. All right, I'll just grab my slides quickly. Okay, present. So if that was interesting to you and you really wanted to make your own game and make your own barrels or make your own mushrooms or whatever, or anything that you particularly like, then we can definitely help you sort of build all that yourself and sort of go into the realm of games design and eventually be working in the game space. I did forget to mention at the start, we do have Donna on the chat too. So she's there trying to keep up with the conversations you guys are having. But if you do have any sort of particular questions for us, shoot them through. Donna's on here as well, and she'll come on at the end as well, have a bit of a Q&A session. So let's kick off with this part. So I'm just going to start with a bit of a spotlight. So we do have Jack in the building today. He's got a bit of a showpiece to sort of exhibit to everybody after my little sort of talk. So a bit of a background about Jack. He was originally studying a Bachelor of Accounting and realized it wasn't for him. And then he decided to sort of withdraw from that and then move into the Bachelor of Interactive Media and Games Design with us at AIT. And now he's just absolutely killing it. He's got multiple sort of contention for awards at the AEAF, which is where I saw a question in the chat come through of how animation in games can sort of mold over. So AEAF is a full-on animation awards, but Jack studied games, so you do get that skill set as well. So yeah, now he's a senior developer at Red Cartel as well. So it just shows you where you can sort of start and where you can finish. So we actually are one of the most, or if not the most comprehensive games design course in Australia. If you look around, you'll see that there's a lot of courses that just focus on game art or just focus on coding or just one particular area. In this course, you're going to learn a bit of everything. So there is a little bit of coding in there, but as what Carlton showed you, it's not like it's not scary. It's just the more behind the scenes work. But effectively, what's going to happen if you study with us is you'll make 6 games from scratch along the way. So it's not like your first game has to be the fully polished, awesome sort of thing. You'll be building along the way. So it's that slow sort of like progression and transition from initial idea to full finished product, which is going to be that real nice sort of, not easy, but a better way to sort of learn. And having 6 games under your belt when you finish is pretty good as well, because it's pretty practical. So we teach you a bit of everything. So we do start with the very basics or the more traditional landscape, which is your tabletop games. Don't write off the idea of tabletop games too quickly. We had some students who made a really cool card game, took it down to PAX, which is the biggest games exhibition down in Melbourne. They sold out of all their cards the first day, then just spent the rest of the time there just chilling, having fun, and made a bit of money out of it. And back to that question that I saw come through in the chat about 2D, you'll be able to make 2D games, build that up to 3D, and then you'll start doing more advanced stuff and go into sort of AR, VR as well. So it's pretty well-rounded in terms of what you're exposed to. Then you're always given the sort of the choice to focus on one area, or sort of one particular path that suits you, and that kind of brings forth your more unique style as well. So at the moment, 77% of our students find employment. That's off the back of our exposure to industry that we'll give you, our internship program, and then also the Forge program. So if you really do want to work in the game space, we can definitely make it happen. Jack's a really good example of that as well. But it really just depends on effort. Like, end of the day, you can use Unreal, but you'll need to be able to build your own models, build your own sort of assets, and then develop games that way. But if you're good and you put in a bit of effort, you're gonna be pretty fine in terms of working in the game space. So with the course, we've got basically 3 blocks. So you can enroll into the diploma, which is just year 1 of the degree. You can finish that, graduate, go see how you go and see if you find work or whatever. And then if it doesn't work out or whatever, come back and finish on the 2nd and 3rd year and boil it up to a degree. You can enroll into the bachelor, and you can withdraw, graduate early if you want to as well. So if you're up to the associate degree level, which is year 1 and 2, and the dream job pops up, you can still graduate with an associate degree, see how you go. And then if you want, you can come back and finish off the last year to make it a bachelor. So you get a fair bit of flexibility on sort of what qualification you're after. And, you know, there is a bit of flexibility too on sort of how slow or how fast you want to do it too. So don't get too stressed out about whether you want to commit yourself to a bachelor directly, or whether you're not sure whether to do a diploma or a bachelor, because it effectively is the same course. It just depends on how much study you want to do. So I'll hand it back over to Carlton, and we've got a bit more sort of intricate sort of details on the subjects.
So, you have control of the slides, yeah, Anthony? So
yeah.
Next slide. Cool. So yeah, so you'll see that when you look at our, course structure, you sort of see like a whole batch of subjects in here, and because there's 24 subjects in the degree of interactive media. But if we skip to the next slide, I sort of highlighted, what sort of the game stuff that you'll be doing throughout this course. So throughout your interactive media, you do a lot of things, right? Like, let's say creative drawing, like knowing a bit of drawing is actually really good, right? Doing animation and digital storytelling. See how T1, there's storytelling and all that. So everything is sort of vital. But in terms of game making specifically, then you get to do these subjects here, right? That's highlighted in yellow. So I'll just break it down in the next slide, what these actually are. And so we go to the next slide, Anthony. So so we're studying games at AIT. You learn a bit about game design theory, because that's actually important, right? If you want to become a better game designer, what makes you a game designer now versus what makes you a better game designer is knowing all the theory and principles behind what makes a game good, right? Because if you think about it, what's a game design principle that you know of right now that makes a game good? And most of you might draw a blank, but hopefully by the end of it, by going through it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know 20, 30 principles that's going to make my game good. And that's how you make a better game, right? It's split into next programming and art, because obviously that's what it takes to make a game. You need art and you need programming, right? So let's talk about the programming, right? There's 3 subjects here. So essentially it's like 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year. So basically easy, medium, hard. So if you have a look at 2D interactivity, we got easy programming, game development is intermediate programming, and then advanced game development is advanced game programming. Right? I see in the chat, some people are like, ew, programming. And it's true, right? Like when I first thought about it, it's like programming, that's so boring. But games programming is actually really different, right? Because if you're just programming like apps and then like websites and all that, some of those are like, it's got a design aspect. But then for game programming, it's like, oh, suddenly games is like you're making stuff blow up and you can collect stuff and beat enemies. Suddenly game programming excites you. I didn't grow up wanting to be a programmer. I want to be an animator. And then by doing programming, it's like, oh yeah, this is like really fun. So yeah, don't put off programming just yet until you make some games with it. Otherwise, we got game art as well, which is like making 3D assets. So same thing, 3D intro, game assets, advanced game assets. So it's like beginner, intermediate, advanced modeling, right? So modeling characters, modeling game props like weapons, treasure chests, houses, trees, all those things that you need in a game. And then advanced game assets, making like, really high-end 3D models. And then, yeah, get good at making cool art to then put into the game engine. And finally, towards the end of your interactive media degree, you then work on your Forge, which is the final project, right? So most of all these are sort of like you upskilling yourself, so individually making stuff, but towards the end, you form a group, and then as a group, you can achieve much more greater things and a much more cooler project as a group. So that's the Forge towards the end where you make a game. So yeah, that's sort of a nutshell of what the interactive media games look like. So we'll quickly have a look at more Unreal Engine stuff. So this is a Sizzle Reel. So it has no sound, so I guess I'll just sort of talk through it. Right? And yes, throughout these games, now that you can see it, you can sort of get better understanding of how it was kind of made through that previous demo, right? So all these characters running with grass in an environment, that treasure chest, you sort of put it in there and sort of position how you want. You do some cool animations as well. And yeah, we also touch on a little different platforms as well. So we do VR games, right? And so you make VR games, you make PC games, you make mobile games. There's also an elective for augmented reality as well. So yeah, we want to touch on all these new platforms because that's the platforms of today, right? Not only are you working on just traditional PC games, but you also want to make all these other exotic platforms as well. So yeah, things that you can do as a working in games, studying games, right? So you study art, so you could become a game artist, right? So a 2D or 3D game artist. What's in a game? Something that's sort of underrated in a game is UI. The UI of the game, right? And so, all your start button, your menu scene, your level select, your power-ups, what's your upgrades, your character level up system, your tech trees, right? All those UI stuff. Someone needs to make that, right? And so technical artists, right? Technical artist is an artist that's actually quite sought after, right? Because you're either or, right? You're either very artistic, like you want to be an artist, or you can be a programmer. And then technical artist is someone that can do both, right? It's like, they can make 3D art, and they can operate the Unreal Engine as well. And so that's a much sought after sort of role. And otherwise, you can just be a pure game programmer, and then know how to make things work, right? We make stuff like shoot 'em up games, first person shooters. See that character game there? We evolved that into a hack and slash sort of like 3D world game, right? And then we've done all kinds of games like city builder games and then VR games. And so programming all those games is important. And then you can become a game designer or have game design knowledge. So and as Sydney's starting to open up some big studios, right? They a game designer role is back in action, right? There's also game writers. So whilst some of you might like writing, I got a friend that really likes writing. Like I needed a game story once, and then he just wrote like 20 pages of story, and then like he enjoys that stuff. But when I try to write it, I fall asleep on the second page, right? And so some people like writing, some people maybe not. But QA tester, so quality assurance, play testing, right? That's actually something a few of our students actually got into the game industry as well, right? So they studied, they were a programmer, and then they started off as a QA tester at a company, and then that led them to then evolve into game programming at that studio. So QA testing is what they say is one of the most easiest entry-level jobs to get into the industry, right? So And then you got level designer, making cool environments, because what did we just do just then? We have a level, right? And we have a big world, and that big world needs a lot of work to populate, right? We need some cities over there, we need some enemies over there, we need a quest over there, and then it takes time to build that. But yeah, level designer is something that you could sort of work to become as well. So yeah, you guys know games. Think about all the stuff that's required in the game, right? And then yeah, lots of things that can be done in game making.
So if you're wondering like how you're going to sort of tap into the games industry, we've kind of got you covered there, because we'll expose you to a lot of sort of industry professionals along the way, but also we've got a lot of events. Well, we've got events that gives you the chance to showcase your work as well. So one of the first events we have is called Games Day. So that's like an award day for all the hard work you've done in terms of making games. So you can win an award for best AR VR game, best 2D game, best 3D game. There's an award for best cosplay outfit, and you actually win those awards off industry. So it's a real nice way to sort of get a bit of recognition for the hard work you've done, particularly off the external people who are actually working in the games industry as well. So it's a bit of a networking exercise as well. And off the back of that, we've got what's also called Games Mastermind. So Donna will chuck in the chat for the video from Games Day, the last one we had on campus. So with Games Mastermind, that's an industry panel that's all from game professionals that basically spill the beans on what it's like to work in games, what you have to know, what you don't need to know, what you should be doing now, best direction for you. So you're just learning everything you need to know about working in the game space from people who are doing it. So we do this on campus as well. So we've got a nice, small, intimate sort of setting at AIT. So it's not like you're in a massive sort of town hall and it's going to be really hard to go up and talk to these guys. So you're doing a fair bit of networking there as well. So you're actually meeting a lot of pretty cool people. So that's going to help you in your path and that transition from study to work as well. Then the last one is the Forge program. So this is basically your third exposure to industry. So we've spoken about Forge already a little bit. So to give you a bit more of a refresher, it's building a game from scratch over 3 subjects, which you then present to a games industry panel. And then they actually mark you, not the teachers. So if you're good enough and you put your best foot forward, you can get work directly off the back of that, or internships off the back of that, or interviews. It just depends on how much effort you put through. But we've had a lot of students find work pretty easily off that system as well. Then they've also met a lot of other professionals from those events that we have. So we've got you covered in a pretty good way in terms of who you're exposed to, who you're going to know, who you're going to meet throughout studying, and then what you can do after as well.
Just to keep with that slide, you'll see one of those guests here, Liminal VR, which was actually one of the, how your Forge final projects, you get these clients, right, from industry. So Damien was last sort of final projects industry person that the student had to sort of make a project for. And in the end, they made a VR game. And then because it turned out pretty well, and so because of that, Liminal VR took that game in and published it onto their platform, which they don't often do. But yeah, fortunately, the students did a good job there, and then they chose their game to add to their VR game platform. So that was really cool as well.
Yeah, it's just a good example of what can happen if, when you go through that program. So it's pretty special that we offer that. And it's nice to be able to have, students meet a lot of sort of really awesome sort of games professionals along the way as well. So yeah, we do have scholarships as well for domestic and international. So you're basically given a brief, you tackle it the best you can. It gets sent to the academics of what you've sort of produced, and you can win percentages of your tuition fee. So it's a nice little thing to go for. There's no harm in applying and just sort of seeing how you go. It's not going to stop you in any way if you don't get awarded the scholarship. But if you think you've got a bit of skill and a bit of creativity behind you, you might as well have a crack and see what happens, because you never know. Donna will chuck that in the chat as well. If you're pretty happy to go forth and you're thinking that that games design is where you want to be, just chuck an application through that link there, ait.edu.au/apply now. And if you're an international student, just chuck an email to that email address there, and we'll help you out with everything. So what I'm going to do now is bring on Jack. So a bit of refresher about Jack. He did the interactive media and games design with us, and then now he's working for a games company called the Red Cartel. Are you there, Jack?
Yeah, mate. How you going?
How you going, mate? So
Very good.
When did you study, and when did you graduate, and what campus did you go to?
Yeah, no worries. So I was based in the Sydney campus, starting in 2014 and graduating on an accelerated Bachelor of Interactive Media in 2016.
Awesome. So what are you up to now? The word on the street is you've just got promoted at Red Cartel.
Yeah, that's right. So I've been with Red Cartel now. I'm based here in Sydney for 5 years, and I've just moved up into a lead developer position. So leading up the development team with new jobs coming in, helping scope out new jobs, stuff like that. But yeah, very exciting times. I'm very fortunate.
Awesome. So what were the kind of roles that you could have tackled once you'd finished graduated with AIT?
So the roles, I jumped into a freelance junior position coming out of AIT. Obviously coming away, I had the foundations to sort of get my hands dirty a little bit, but in a great spot to sort of be able to learn much faster. So I moved into Red Cartel in a junior position, starting on sort of just small little tools for jobs, just little pieces of games, like maybe some logic for a catapult. We're doing some stuff like with bows, just things like that to sort of expose me to begin with. But yeah, I was definitely in a pretty comfortable spot to get started with that.
Yeah, awesome. So when you kind of looking back, like what was the most important thing to look for in terms of choosing where to study? Like what were you after? What sort of led you to AIT?
I had a look around. As you said before, I was in an accounting degree, which I wasn't feeling very fulfilled, wasn't extremely happy, and started looking at programming and just more so game design on the side. So looking around at the courses that were currently available, sort of landed on AIT because there was a widespread of subjects that I could look into. At the time, I wasn't specifically wanting to jump 100% into programming, but more so wanted to dip my feet into sort of all avenues or streams of game design. So then I could see I could jump in, I could do some modeling, animation, even some film stuff, which was a massive seller for me. So yeah, I guess that sort of drove my decision.
Awesome. So I got a bit of work to sort of showcase. Did you want to speak to this a little bit before I play the video?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be a job that we completed for Shell V-Power, so the V8 Supercars. It was a 4-player multiplayer VR experience, all of a live activation, meaning that we had 4 people all in the room at the same time playing the game together. So they were physically all spaced out exactly how they should be, which creates a very immersive experience. On top of that, you'll also see some mixed reality capture, meaning that we've got the 3D world in the background and the user that's actually playing superimposed on top. Yeah, and it was just a massive undertaking, this job, which is all completed in, I think, around 3 to 4 months. But yeah, that's the main thing. I'm going to talk a bit more after, once people have a better idea, I guess.
I'll chuck it on. Hopefully the audio works.
One of the big challenges you have at supercar events is that it's an incredibly crowded place. There are hundreds of brands out here vying for attention. So what we needed to do was to create a unique experience that supercar fans were going to love. We've created an interactive multiplayer VR game which has a customizable social outputs for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
4-player, first time it's being done, and the people don't just look around, they're physically doing the right steps to make a car pit stop.
To be perfectly frank, there's nothing like this in the pits or anywhere in the environment. No supercar team, no supercar brand associated with it has got anywhere near to what we're doing here.
I mean, our key messaging is really around performance and efficiency. This is a great property to actually bring that to life because you've got to perform, you've got to be quick and efficient.
We built the entire experience inside a 5 metre by 5 metre green screen room with full surround sound and camera arrays tracking each player, rendering key moments into mixed reality videos. Players were texted a link to their personal video to share on social directly after the experience, as this is when propensity to share is at its highest.
experience was phenomenal. Like, it's just unreal. It's almost like you're right there at the track.
It's unbelievable. You know, I think that's the most realistic thing outside of changing a wheel on a race car you'll ever do.
So good. How long did that sort of take to build?
So that one there was about, I think it was somewhere between like 3 to 4 months at the time, with a dev team of numerous artists and of like 3 developers, I believe. Can't remember exactly. This is maybe the first stage of this was about, I'd say 3.5 years ago. But since then now we've built them out into all different kinds of the racing types. So we've got like NASCAR, DTM, Daytona, stuff like that. So all of these are just running around the world at the moment, probably not with lockdowns and stuff at the moment, but yeah, we've definitely got kits running over in Europe, America, stuff like that. So it's really sort of taken off, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what I'll do is I'll bring Donna and Carlton back on. Are you there, Donna?
Sure am. Very busy chat today.
How's the chat been going?
Oh, going off. It's awesome. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions noted here. Okay, so I had a question for Carlton from the demo before. So is AI part of the engine?
Yeah, so part of Unreal Engine is, it comes from 20 years of game making, and behind the scenes, they have a lot of AI presets already done for you, right? From the pathfinding, they can sort of navigate around walls and then sort of come and attack you and all that. So all the essentials are there, and then it's just up to you to sort of add on to it. What do you want them to do? Or do you want them to first go here first and then get there first? And then you just have to modify it and customize it. But in terms of AI, a lot of the heavy work is sort of in the system already, which is kind of good.
Awesome. Another question, so from your demo, so can you change the opacity of color of the shadows on the program?
Of course. So you can do it. And the thing about the game engine is I show you one sort of game. And then one of the biggest questions about, from game engines, can Unreal Engine do this? Can Unreal Engine do that? In terms of can it make a platformer game? Can it make an MMORPG? Can it make a first person shooter? But as a game engine, it can, the aim is to be able to make any game as well. And within there, whichever you've sort of seen happen in a game, like opacity and textures, all that is, it's all possible.
Yeah, I can see questions just come through from Ava. So is there a set engine we'll use in the course?
We've now pivoted to the Unreal Engine. So previously we also used the Unity engine, but because Unreal 5 is really exciting and it's got some really cutting edge stuff, we're sort of starting to move into the Unreal Engine.
Awesome. Another question from Erica, just in regards to career perspectives, I guess, and I'm sure you can shed some light. So what's the demand like for game developers, say, across Sydney and Melbourne that you are aware of?
Yeah, so I can jump in on that. So there's always demand, and I guess it's only becoming more and more mainstream now to sort of get into these areas, and developers, it's a growing need that's starting to happen, especially in game design and stuff like that. Because when you look at what we do as Red Cartel, it's not always specifically just games, but we do a lot of stuff for like enterprise and companies like eBay if they want to do a store in a VR headset. It's not just about the fun side, even though most things are gamified in VR. There's definitely a need just for programmers in general, and with the engines becoming so much more accessible, it's a much more required skill set. So I'd say demand is only growing. And in terms of, I think I saw a question before about what are my chances and my job prospects, and that's what's making people nervous. It's about the time that you really do put in. And I think in like a course like AIT, you sort of start to set your standard for how hard you're going to work. And even though you've got your set amount of hours in a week, how much are you going to do in the spare time? Like when you get home, like what's your passion? What's your drive like? Because we see that once you come out of uni, we see that straight away. And if I see that drive, and the person might not be as skilled as someone else that I think is sort of lacking the drive, I go for the person with the drive like every single time. And most of the times it definitely absolutely pays off. So yeah, definitely prospects. It's how much work are you willing to put in to sort of get into it?
That's great. Question for both Jack and Carlton probably. So I know Prabhu was asking a bit about, do you prefer making games on Mac or PC, or where do you sort of lie there?
I can start there. I've got a Mac, so I make my games on a Mac, primarily because a Mac can export to iOS and Mac easier, whereas on PC, then you had to do workarounds to get exported into Mac and iOS because it's like Mac is like very closed off. So that's the reason why I work on a Mac. But at the same time, as a game developer, you want to make your game, but then put it on as much platforms as possible anyway, right? And so you put it on the PC, but then Mac people are like, I want to play games on a Mac because I got a Mac. I got no games to play on a Mac, so I need games. And so like, yeah, as a game developer, you also put your games on a Mac as well, and then on iOS and Android. Some people are like, oh, I'm an Android person, but you'd also want the other half of the world to play a game on the iOS as well. So all platforms are important.
Awesome. And what about yourself, Jack?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, in-house, we're like pretty much exclusively Windows at the moment. We absolutely do a bunch of builds that need to go out onto Macs and iOS as well. So the way that we do run that is we have one single Mac. So the thing they do with their software and being able to build is that I can build out of, say, Unity for iOS, but then I need to move that onto the Mac for the actual development and deployment process. So there's no really avoiding that. But in-house, we are Windows. I'd say more, it can also be like a price point for a lot of people in that I can get a sort of really beefy sort of PC for what I think is a much smaller price in comparison to some MacBooks and stuff like that these days. But yeah, we're mostly Windows at our studio.
Yeah, cool. You going to say something, Ed?
I was just going to read out Ava's question because I was interested to hear what Carlton had to say about laptops that you recommend.
Yep. And so in terms of laptop, like, so part of, there's not really a specific answer, but what it does do, it opens you to a different type of game making, right? So let's say if you're making like really heavy games with like really big worlds and, high poly models sort of thing, then obviously the better the laptop, the better. But at the same time, when we're working on mobile games and we're making like, let's say like a match 3 game or like a 2D platformer, those don't need that intense graphic as well. And so that sort of then, yeah, but ultimately the higher the better. That opens you up to the possibilities of like a more, high fidelity game. But high fidelity games are not always the case that you need to make, where you can sort of make like, not too intense games, and those are just as fun as well.
Awesome. Just to sort of wrap up, I can see there's still a few questions about entry, so let's just touch on that again. So number one thing to know is we do not require an ATAR. Okay, so makes it much easier. The only time we look into accepting a portfolio is if you haven't completed a minimum of year 12. So if you've completed that year 12, that's enough for your entry into the course, whether it's February, May, or September. We will hold your place, all right? So say if you're based in Melbourne and you're going through the BTAC process, please note that with the BTAC, pay for that BTAC account, you will need to go through the BTAC process to come and on board to study at AIT. But if you haven't paid for a BTAC account, enroll directly. Sydney's open for enrolments right now, and you can reach out to Anthony at any point if you're looking to enrol. So that's just a little bit about it. So we will hold your place. So there's no need to worry, because I think a lot of people are getting a little bit worried. So no need to worry. We will hold your place.
Yeah, so just on the back of that for Dominic's question, if you've finished year 12 and you've got your year 12 graduation paper, then you're in, basically. So there's a couple of things to do, like certified docs and stuff like that, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, portfolios only if you're looking to sort of study with us if you haven't done year 12. So as long as you got the graduation paper, then you're all good. We're happy to give you a crack and let you in.
Exactly. That's good. Any other questions out there?
I don't think so.
Can I apply as a mature student? Yep, you can. I've enrolled mature students all the time, and I'm sure Ant has as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Career changes, anybody's welcome. Mature student, yeah. So Ava, you will get in as long as you've completed that year 12. No need to stress.
We kind of go off a mantra where we're happy to give everybody a crack, like come in, see how you go. And, but it's not like if you can't go through the whole bachelor, you walk away with nothing. You can still do the diploma and the associate degree. But yeah, that's why we got rid of the ATAR, because the reason we have that mantra is because you don't learn this stuff in high school. It's a completely different side of the brain. It's a different sort of skill set. So it's all about, because you're starting from ground zero of us anybody, like anyway. So yeah, don't stress out too much about how you're traveling in year 12, because it doesn't really relate to this field, to be honest. So you're all good.
Definitely. Just speak to one of us and we will help you. I'll make sure to pop our details into the chat and just reach out at any point.
Cool. So I think that's pretty much it. If we don't have any questions for anyone else, or from anyone else, I think I did say one more at the end there, actually. What was that? Application. Is there a section called education and qualifications? What is it? Yeah, that's just school. That's just like high school, or if you've done a diploma or something, or if you've already done a bachelor before. So yeah, all good. So I think it's probably good to bring Julia back on, and yeah, take it away, Julia.
Thank
you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Carlton and Jack and Donna.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
That was an awesome jam-packed session for games design. Hey, what with the live demonstration at the beginning and then Jack showcasing his work at the end, and obviously the info session in the middle. It was brilliant, very jam-packed, and loads of questions coming through, which is what we love. So keep them coming.